I found myself over this last several months, every morning, somewhere between 3:30 and 4, my body wakes up. Notice I said my body wakes up. Notice I said my body wakes up. The rest of me is not quite sure what's happening. And I feel drawn into our living space, our living room. And I go into my own time of sitting and attempting to be quiet. Anybody who has ADD, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you try to get quiet, it's automatically a concert of some sort. I don't know why that happens. It's like the 80s rock band in there, doing their thing. Don't stop. Anyway, so I just did it. So, but that's kind of become a routine. And so even if I go to sleep late, it tends to happen. I'm not quite sure. And it's not every day, but it's 95% of them. And what I'm finding is that when after I sit for a while in the quiet and I just allow myself to be in that space and to sit in what I can only describe as completely unconditional love, it gives me the ability to go deep and into places that, I assumed, what assumptions do. I assumed were already dealt with within my being, and instead, more is coming up. Are you experiencing any of that sort of it's like the ground is unsettled, and so it's all coming to the top, which is beautiful. And you should expect it, actually, if you start saying things like, I want to be the best version of me, completely and totally whole and integrated. I want to be an individuated being. When you do that, the universe goes, fine, cool, here's this, start with this. And it can be an interesting journey. But this morning I was sitting and I was not really thinking, but just trying to be in the space of quiet, openness, expansion. And this is what came through, and I'm going to read it because as it came through, I grabbed my phone real quick and I started typing. And I don't know, I don't want to ham this up because, I grew up in the charismatic church where everybody had a word from the Lord for you. Anybody know what I'm talking about? People come up to you and go, I have a word from the Lord for you. I had this one lady. I told you about this one lady, that it was every week there was a word from the Lord for me, specifically for me. And finally one day I said to her, I said, no, that's not a word from the Lord. And she said, oh, what do you mean? I said, no, God knows that he would send somebody to talk to me I would listen to. So God didn't give you the mail because I won't receive it from you. I said, and there's nothing against you. I'm just saying there's something that with us doesn't work. And so I'm just being honest with you. I don't think God gave it to you. God would give it to somebody else that I might have some emotional equity with. Because then it would get delivered to me, right? Does that make sense to anybody? So needless to say, the next word from the Lord was not that great from her. The Lord has said anyway. So I don't want to ham this up, but this is the way it just kind of came through. It was a transmission, if I could call it that. And it said this, there is an imminent wave of love coming that no dam can block. Nothing will stop this coming wave of divine love and awakening. Be still and know, stand in the glory of this divine transmission. Do not allow yourself to be distracted, divided, or dismayed. Nothing can stop this awakening. It is here, you are here, and the time is now. And that's what came through for me today. And it was a word for me. I just want to share it with you. Because when I look at our world, I'm like, oh God, really? I thought we were more awake than this. Now we're making fun of empathy in our world. Now we're making fun of compassion. It seems to have gone out the window with some. And so you can start to feel really dismayed. What does this have to do with the crown chakra? Maybe everything, but maybe nothing. I just felt like I needed to share that with you. Please hear that again. Don't allow yourself to be distracted. I'm learning how to not be distracted, and it's not easy. Don't allow yourself to be divided. That we're already seeing that. There's a transmission that Edgar Casey shared 1934 that describes nearly to a T what we're experiencing right now. And he said that it would be a 2-year short-lived chaos. It would be a 2-year period of a particular person or persona in the world that would rise up. It'd be a 2-year period, and then it would fail and falter. And that after that would come forward what he said would be a woman not of the old order and would bring a new awakening. He said this would not be a change in commerce. It wouldn't necessarily be a change in politics or in government, but it would be a change in consciousness. The pressure is what is needed to push the baby into this world. So we feel the contraction, but be careful that you don't shrink. This is why there's a time that the doctor says push. You know, you're in that stage, push. I've been in the room with 4 of my biological children being born, and there were times that the doctor said push, and the mother was like, I've done all I can do. I can't push. I don't have anything left. How many feel that way sometimes? Like I don't have anything left. Man, what else am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm trying to be moderate here. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be compassionate. I'm trying to see the world, the true world, and I just don't know what else I can do. Well, don't be distracted. Don't be divided. Don't be dismayed. I don't believe, and this was what came through for me, this awakening won't be stopped. I want to look in the cameras and say, this awakening's not going to be stopped. People are waking up all over. It's too late. It's too late to cover it up. The cat's out of the bag. It is going to move forward, and it's going to really shift the way we do life on this planet. I believe that. A tsunami of love. Who'd have thunk or thought that Joe would come up with that? So we're talking about the crown chakra, and I'm not going to hold you for long today. I promise. The crown chakra represents, in traditional sense, unity and wisdom and divinity. The scripture, and it's interesting that scriptures are now coming back to me. Lisa, I guess I'm finding peace with all of it enough that scriptures are even coming back, and they're much more meaningful to me now. But in the Acts of the Disciples or the Apostles, Acts 17:28 said that in the source we live and move and have our being. I don't know how many of you had a chance to tune in to Midweek Connection on Thursday night, but I was sharing that our divinity has been under attack because the systems of the world only work if we're asleep. If you wake up to who you really are, you can't be controlled anymore. And so this is why it's important to awaken. I remember Brandon and I one time were talking. It was good to see you too, by the way. We were talking one time, and Brandon said, he's like, dude, because he's a monk that talks that way. He's like, dude, we could call him the dude monk. Maybe write a book about it. He said, dude, the only thing I want to do for the rest of my life is help as many people as possible to wake up. That's it. That's all I want to do with my life too. With all of the wreck and the mess and the stuff and the things that I don't quite understand about myself still, I still just want to spend the rest of my life helping people to wake up in whatever way I can. And when I say wake up, it's not because I'm from a place that has figured it out. It's not that. Look at your neighbor and say, you ain't figured it out yet. Because it's not about figuring it out. It's about hearing the calling and doing everything you can to align with the truth of who you really are and try to help others do the same thing. This is in this together. There's so many ministers and so many times that we as ministers stand in the platform and we speak with such conviction that it's almost as if everything that we're saying to you, we've already gotten it perfected, and that's so not the case. All of the dysfunction and the function is welcome at this table. That's what I'm saying, because when we can admit to that, we can live in a level of authenticity. And I believe that the crown chakra helps us to make that connection, to remember that it is in the source that we live and move and have our being. So the mantra for today is this: you're not becoming divine, you're remembering you are. In fact, instead of amening, let's I'm in it. And put your hand right there on your heart and say, I'm not becoming divine. I'm remembering I am. Now here's what Greg Braden defines divine or divinity in this way. He says divinity is the human person's ability to know they can move beyond human limitations. In other words, it's being conscious that the limitations you've been given or that you've experienced, you can move beyond them. And that's what it means to be divine. It's not a religious terminology. We've made it religious. We've heard it be. It's not about that. Enlightenment is not religion. Liberation is not about religion. I would even say it's not even about spirituality. Man, spirituality has become so religious that it's just another religion. This is about expanding in myself enough to know that I don't have to live in the limitations of my trauma, my drama, my pain, my current set of circumstances, that I can move beyond it. And so I say once again, I am not becoming divine. I'm remembering I am. And that's really, to me, what the crown chakra is about. We've moved through the chakras and we've said that on this journey at the root, we're safe and we belong. That's the feeling of safety and belonging. In the sacral, we said we're creative and we're in a flow. In the solar plexus, we connected the solar plexus and the heart, and we said we're moving willpower toward being love power. Somebody say love power. I knew Joe would be the loudest. We go on to the throat chakra and we find that that's the place where we can express it. And we realize that if the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart are all in alignment together, that this is love power, then our voice becomes a voice that heals rather than kills. It's words of healing rather than division. And then we moved toward the third eye, and we said, this is where we're awakening our higher perception. And now we have come to the crown chakra. This is the Sahasrara. I don't know if I said that right or not, but that's how I read it. It's called Hooked on Phonics. It worked for me. And it means the 1,000-petaled lotus that blossoms not at the bottom of life, but at the summit of awareness. So imagine that over top of your head is that 1,000-petal lotus that's opening and closing and constantly receiving and sending signal into the universe. This is the chakra of knowing, not the kind of knowing that gathers facts and then all of a sudden gets a diploma or a degree, but it's the kind that rests as a deep bone assurance of who you really are. It's a trust that's so steady that it needs no explanation because it simply is. Like I'm learning to live in my divine nature just as it is without the need to explain it. I simply get to express it and experience it. Can I get a witness, somebody? That's why we talk about it all the time, because I want us to remember who we are. The world has been in the process of disintegrating and dismembering who we are. And so we come to this place to remember who we are. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I heard something about you. I heard you're divine. And I think it's true. So it's the awareness that you have that the source and you are not two things, but one thing. You're not separate entities, but you're a part of the collective one. And that's the truth. That's the vibrational truth that really hums up underneath and in every breath that you receive and that you give. That is the vibrational frequency of truth. It's not information. It's not memorization. It is pure and full awareness of the truth of who you are. It's knowing in every cell within your being that you are inseparable from the source, that you've never been separate from God, and that you never can be separate from God and live because God, source, I am, is life. And that is the life that you have. So you're not becoming divine, you're remembering that you are. I had a strange occurrence with scripture verses again. And I think they're ready to throw this scripture verse up on the Pro Presenter screen. I just want to make sure. Now, for those who get triggered by the Bible, I do want you to know that I did actually go back in and retranslate this, but I wanted to read this from the New American Standard translation. That was the translation that Charles Fillmore used the most. And I want you to notice that apparently Paul was from Georgia because he opens with, "For I reckon." Y'all see that? He must have been a Georgia boy. I'm telling you, he must have been a Bulldogs fan. Sorry, Gators fans. Or Seminoles, or Hurricanes, whatever. Notice he says here, "For I reckon," I'm sorry, this is the ADD. I almost hear like Paul going, I reckon. No, he says, for I reckon that the suffering of this present time, the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is about to be unveiled in us. Now it goes on to verse 19 and says, for the eager longing of creation stretches forward, awaiting the unveiling of the children of God. Verse 20. For creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of the one who subjected it in hope. That creation itself will also be freed from the slavery of corruption into the freedom belonging to the glory of God's children. For we know that the whole creation groans together and suffers birth pangs together until now. And not only creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we groan within ourselves, eagerly awaiting adoption for the redemption or the redemption of our body. Now, this is Paul, and this was very mysterious for his time, and this is a letter that he wrote to the Romans. And this is before the Church of Rome. This is before the Roman Catholic Church. This is when Catholic was a lowercase c, and the word Catholic meant universal. It was always intended to be universal. God has always been universal. God has always been one. You have always been a part of it. Paul is not saying, he's not talking about a way to get to heaven. He's not talking about becoming a part of a religion. He is introducing them to the reality of a new birth that would connect body with spirit. He was just saying you have a head knowledge about some things, but I'm telling you there's coming a time when we're going to adopt this in the cells of our bodies so that our bodies will be redeemed, which means to be brought back up to their proper standing. Now here's my translation of it, because yes, I have the audacity to retranslate. This is what I got from it, and it was this. I am convinced, somebody say convinced, that whatever suffering we taste in this moment cannot compare with the glory that is already rising within us. The stuff I'm dealing with in chaos cannot compare to the catalytic glory that's rising. It's already rising within me. I hear Daniel singing, I feel it, I feel it, I feel it in my bones. If you can, that's because it's already rising within you. Creation itself is holding its breath, waiting for the children of God to wake up and step into their fullness. The earth is waiting for this generation of people, the people that I speak to today. The earth, Mother Earth, is saying, y'all, I reckon, need to wake up. The earth itself is waiting for us to wake up to who we truly are. We can heal this planet collectively by shifting the energetic frequency that's on it. Somebody say, I'm ready to step into my fullness. It goes on to say this, for creation has been subjected to the weight of limitation. What's the weight of limitation? The weight of limitation is the heaviness of the concepts that programmed us into believing that we're not good enough, that we're not connected to God, that we're not. The weight of limitation is the limitation that religion puts on you and says you have to come through our gateway and pay the toll. Say the right words and you get to go. That's the weight of limitations, and we've been weighted down with it, not by our own choice, but by the one who wove hope into the design. And here it is, though, that one day freedom is going to be revealed. Here's the final verse. All of creation is groaning as if in labor, yearning to be liberated from decay into the freedom of love's glory. And we too are carrying that spark of spirit within us. And we feel that ache. This is some of the pangs that we may be feeling within our being about what's occurring in the world right now. We groan inwardly as we also await the full unveiling of who we are. Beloved children of God, redeemed in body, mind, and soul. See, I don't want just my mental awareness to be around my divine essence. I want my whole being to be connected to my divine essence. I want my body to become aware of it. I want to know in my cells who I am. Carrie was talking about the other night. She was celebrating some birthday for her best friend. And she called me because I was up further in Atlanta. I'd gone to visit my youngest son while she's at this birthday gathering. And at this birthday gathering, and I don't want to butcher it, it's her story to tell, but it fits here real well. She's having this conversation with this individual who grew up in church and is absolutely convinced that he's unworthy, that he's no good, and that he's not connected to God. And she said, you wouldn't believe this. Actually, she said, you'd be so proud of me. She said, something rose up in me and I started telling him what it was about. And I was like, what? I said, was you witnessing? Was you evangelizing? She said, I'm telling you, I started channeling my divine self. I was like, channeling my divine self? Reverend Carrie channeling. She said, I started telling him, and every time he would push back, no, I'm not worthy, she would push right back on him and said, no, sir, let me tell you something. You are the divine in human form, and I'm calling it out of you. And he would get kind of rattled, and he kind of looked at her. She said, see, right there, your mind's trying to figure out what's happening to your heart. You see that? But she was calling out the light. She was calling. And the thing is, we all know it down deep in ourselves, but it's been covered up. It's been covered up by the varnish of belief systems. But when somebody calls it out, this is what happens to our inner being. When vibration hits it, it can't deny it. It's like striking a tuning fork. If you strike a tuning fork in that back room, that's the same key as a tuning fork that's out in that lobby. It's going to take a few moments, but that tuning fork will catch that vibration and they'll vibrate together. This is what we need, because she said to me, I just don't have your knowledge of the Bible and stuff, because he was talking about the Bible. And she said, I just wish I had more knowledge of the Bible. I said, baby, you didn't need the knowledge of the Bible. You had vibrational frequency happening. You had the divine flowing through you. That was in the world and in the cosmos before there was ever a Bible written. You were speaking the word of God. It was coming forth out of you. I'm saying everybody in here has the ability to tap into that, because it's a part of your divinity. It's a part of your very being. Somebody shout this out. I am divine. At the core of me, I'm divine. And so number one, I'm going to close here in the next. Who will give me 2 minutes? Anybody give me 2 minutes? Awesome. Lisa thought I was going to do it today. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I believe in the spirit of multiplication. Number one, this is what happens when the crown chakra opens. We get rid of the illusion of separation. Separation is an illusion. We spend so much of our life forgetting who we are. We walk around with spiritual amnesia. We forget that we are of the source, and so we think the source is up there, out there, over here. It's in this church, it's in that temple, it's in that preacher, it's in that teacher, it's in that guru. And we forget who we are. We think it's something or someone to achieve. This is why people go to gurus. This is why people have the need to worship preachers and priests and monks and others who have decided to take that pathway. And so we look to them as if they're our mediator. Folks, I don't know how many times I need to say this, but I want to say it on the regular. I am not your avenue to God. The best I can do is cook up some food that will stimulate you to create your own, because you don't need a mediator between you and God. You are God in human form, waiting to vibrate with that truth. Listen, I don't know any other way to tell you. Sorry, I'd love to hook you up with free cable, but you're going to have to turn it on for yourself. We bypass with people. We put them on pedestals and we think that now I'm going to have my gateway. No, you're your gateway to God. It is within you already. Bishop Carlton Pearson, I was channeling him a little bit this last week, which is a pretty regular thing. And he visits me occasionally. And I heard his voice this week, something he used to say a lot. He would say, from the womb to the tomb, What matters most is remembering our true nature. He would say, Jonathan, from the womb to the tomb, son, the thing that matters more than anything else is that you remember your true nature. And I hear that voice saying to us today that your true nature is your divine self. That's the core of who you are. That's the baseline of your abilities, is that divine nature that is within you. And that's why Acts chapter 17, verse 28 says, the source is in the source we live and move and have our being. Not sometimes, not on Sundays, not if you believe the right doctrine and join the right church, not if you say all the right words and all the right incantations. It is always, always, always here and right now. So in the source we live and move and have our being. Always. And always, because there's no life or living outside of that source energy. And the crown chakra, when it's open, is receiving that so clearly that the cells fill up with all of the possibilities that come along with that. You can't be separate from who you are. Just like the fish is not separate from the ocean. Just like the wave is not separate from the ocean. It is in it, and the ocean is in the wave, and the wave is in the ocean. You can't be separate from God because you are very God substance. You are divine by nature. The most true thing about you is your divine nature. That's the most real thing about you. Most of the other stuff was programmed by somebody else. Every belief we have was installed more than likely by someone else, unless we have chosen it for ourselves. But many of us are just choosing the programming that was put in us instead of rebooting and rewriting the script. And it is up to us to do that. Somebody say, I can rewrite my story. Affirm this with me, if you will. My divine nature is my highest truth. See, we're running around out here looking for it, and it's here the whole time. It reminds me of a story, this lady that lost her gold necklace that was passed down from her grandmother to her mother and then to her. And she's all over the house looking for it. She's tearing up every room. She's then gone out to the car looking for it. She remembered her friend Ethel had been over the day before, and she swore Ethel must have stole my necklace. So she goes next door, she knocks on the door. You stole my necklace, I can't believe it. You ain't ever coming back to my house again. She goes back to her house, and she's looking through drawers, and she's getting all over the place. Finally, she just gets exhausted. She goes into the bathroom, she uses the restroom, she gets up, and she washes her face. And when she stops washing her face, she looks in the mirror, and there's that gold necklace right around her neck the whole time. Reminded me of a story that Wayne Dyer talked about, the man who lost his keys in the dark house, and he's looking around for his keys in the house, and he can't find them. He sees a street light on, so he goes outside to the street light, and he's looking for his keys. His neighbor comes by and says, Wayne, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm looking for my keys. He said, oh, man, you lost your keys? He said, yeah, I'm looking for my keys. The neighbor said, I'll help you look for your keys. So they're both out there looking for the keys up under this street light. And finally, his neighbor, about 15 minutes later, is like, man, do you have like any idea, proximity, where you may have lost those keys? He said, yeah, I lost them in the house. His neighbor says, say what? We've been out here 15 minutes looking for you. Why were you? He said, well, the house is dark. I just saw this light out here and thought it'd be easier to look for my keys. That's what we're doing when we're going from church to church, religion to religion, conference to conference, trying to find the light that we already are. The key is inside of you. This is why Jesus, the master, said, I give to you the keys to the kingdom. He wasn't handing them to them. He had just told them that the kingdom of God was within you. And that's what he meant by giving them the keys. Somebody say, I already have the keys. We're already carriers of the divine nature. It already is within us. Somebody says, why are we continue to go over this and over this and over this? Because I want us to get to the place where we actually embody it. I've mentioned to you before, right, that information is wonderful, but integration is the power. New thought principles have been being taught for generations and millennia. We know some stuff, but until we know some stuff, I'm talking about until we can embody it, it doesn't become our truth. I can know psychologically a lot of things that never become my reality until I embody them in the cells of my being. So as a part of this Spirit Expressing series, we've been studying Bruce Lipton's book. Many of you are familiar, maybe some of you have finished it already, The Biology of Belief. And he didn't talk about this much, but when I look at neuroscience and I see the biology of how, to me, the science connection with this, biology and spirituality start to kiss here. When neuroscience used to teach that we were conscious by manufacturing from the brain. So in other words, the brain was manufacturing consciousness, kind of like a machine that's spitting out sparks. But now even neuroscience is pointing to what mystics have been saying for generations, and that is that consciousness is not inside your skull. Your skull and all that you are is inside of consciousness. It's not in here, you are in it. And inseparable from it, irrevocably and eternally connected to it. Even science is telling that. Bruce Lipton reminds us that our cells, they're not isolated machines, they're receivers and they're tuned to the field. Quantum physics whispers to us that we are not islands, but we are waves in the ocean of energy. Now here's where, to me, it gets sort of weird and really cool at the same time. How many are familiar with Dolores Cannon? Teaching for many years as a medium, powerful teacher and author. She talked about a fifth dimension that would occur. It would become very clear. In fact, she talked about a lot of what we're experiencing right now. And here's where I see this happening. In the 3D and in the 4D, the 3D is survival. The 4D is time and polarity. We're in these spaces of, instead of unified field, we're in the paradox, and we're in the time of believing that we're separate entities instead of a part of the one. But in the 5D, that vibrational frequency of 5 dimension or 5th dimension, another layer, if you will, another opening of liberation. In that space, there is a vibration of unity, complete union, unconditional love, and there's a timeless presence that we start to recognize in that space. This is what occurs when we're truly in some deep meditation. And I'm talking about some deep meditation where you realize that there is no separation at all. You can feel the spaciousness of all that is. And you start to realize that emptiness, especially in the Buddhist tradition, emptiness is not nothingness. It's not empty-headedness. Emptiness is being able to be open to being the host to everything, but the hostage to nothing. It's not that you have nothing, it's that nothing has you. Because you've expanded out and you need nothing. So this is what it means, I believe, at least my personal opinion, this is what it means to be in non-attachment. It's not detachment, because detachment, it just means you've checked out. To be detached is to be, I don't care. I don't care about anything. That's got an attitude to it. Non-attachment, it just simply means I know I don't own anything and nothing owns me. I express gratitude in non-attachment, and I express a bad attitude in detachment. But the 5D is that realm of higher consciousness where there's absolute union, there's unconditional love, there's timeless presence. It's that consciousness field where there's no doubt about your complete union with the all. And that's what I'm talking about, is getting to the place where there's no doubt in my being about my connection to the all, to the one. And now, the question then is, where do we access this now? Right here, through the crown. This is where the energy center, sort of visualize, if you will, that the crown chakra is essentially the stargate. It's that space. You could call it a port, if you will. Connected and allowing the energy to flow. It's the entry point where infinite light from the divine pours into the body. So when your crown is open, you're not a radio tower trying to send a signal up to God. You're a place where you realize that the signal is already here. And when the crown is open, I receive what's already flowing. In other words, I'm tuning into the station where the music is already being played. You're not becoming divine. You're remembering you already are. And that's all this, everything that we're talking about. In fact, I probably should try this on, especially for folks that know how long-winded I can get from the platform. I should try this out. I should just come up here and just hold a flower and not say anything. Because that would be just as powerful. Listen, we could go home if we would just allow, and we should, probably in just the next few minutes, go home with just that simple mantra that I'm not becoming divine. I'm remembering that I am.